Having a clean UI for raiding is not just aesthetically pleasing, but it should also be extremely functional. So I obsess over the fact of trying to keep my UI clean, but give me all the information that I need. So I just want to talk to you about a few weak auras, a few add-ons that I use just to keep everything clean, not just in raids, but outside of raids as well. But at the same time, not hindering my ability to know what's going on from everybody in the raid. So when you look in the center of my screen and you see that pink bar, that's actually called CDTL2, which is cooldown timeline. So this means I don't need to have all of my action bars up looking at cooldowns of abilities, because I know if it shows on that bar, I physically can't use it. It's incredibly customizable where you can have more than one lane. So that is a lane that I actually have there, that pink bar, but you can have extra lanes to show debuffs, buffs. You can have ready buttons that pop up on your screen to tell you that an ability is ready. I personally use it in its simplest form, which is literally just one lane showing me all cooldowns, which are over 2 minutes long. On top of this, you'll see the important things that I want to know everything about. So these are my long cooldowns, short cooldowns, hands, my rocket boots, all of the important utility abilities that a paladin brings. Now, these are not actually part of any week or a suite that you can get on Wago or anything like that. These are ones that I've actually put together myself. So as you can see, I've got hands and cooldowns, and then I've got long cooldowns, and I use a different set of these each for Ret and Holy respectively. You can see the bottom of the screen is the most important part for me. So going back to actually the raid, you can see that all my unit frames are below the cooldown bar, so I can always glance up and see everything that's going on in the fight without having anything blocking my vision. But at the same time, all of the important information such as DBM warnings or weak auras are at the lower end of the screen, just nicely out of the way. Now when it comes to the raid frames, like you can see here, I actually bounce between two different sets. The default raid profiles built into the game are actually really good and comparable to most healing unit frame add-ons that you can actually get. Obviously I have a different profile for each of them, whether I'm in 10 man, 25 man, whether I'm in Ret spec, which if I go in Ret, it just moves the bars so they're over here out of the way because I don't need them down the bottom. 25 man makes the bars slightly smaller, 10 man makes the bars slightly bigger. Now I actually find the default Blizzard ones pretty good. They do the job, but using them in conjunction with weak auras, I can actually get them to show me important things such as any diseases, magics or poisons that I can get rid of. So if we wait for this to do a vile vomit, you can see it's now highlighting around the frame that I'm dispellable. So I can literally use my mouse over macro to just dispel my character. Now this would show on anyone. It just makes it very easy to see something that can be dispelled and the fact that it's something that I can actually do. You can also see here that I have warnings basically shouting at me to say that there's no beacon up, no shield up. So if I just beacon myself and then put a shield on myself, obviously that text goes away and I can now see how long I've got on it down here. The same would happen if I didn't have a seal on. It says Seal of Wisdom missing. It's just very obvious and annoying, in fact, when it's up there because I know, oh, I better buff or that ain't going anywhere. Now these dispels, all I done was actually took them out of the Thames pack, which we'll talk about in just a second. So all I actually done was just copy and pasted these. They're pretty easy to make, but if you go to the trigger for Ulduar Curse in the Thames Ulduar pack, it looks for curses, but it's specifically looking for curses inside of the raid IDs. So if you just go to load and you untick zone ID, then obviously it'll work everywhere, assuming you're in a raid. So actually all you need to do is just change it from raid to smart group, and then it will just always show you if there's a poison on anyone at any time. Which brings us on nicely to Thames. So it is a weak aura suite and it's absolutely fantastic and being updated all the time. There are other alternatives to Thames, but Thames is just what we always use and we just add on to it as we go along. For example, we made a Mimiron bomb warning which shows you their health and when they spawn. That wasn't in the Thames pack, but the Thames pack does still warn you about bombs anyway. We just wanted it slightly different. In Thames, you can see when you first load it, it looks like there's a lot going on. But when you actually break it down, the glow is just what glows your raid frames, like the poisons and diseases that we spoke about already. You've then got dynamic, so you want to get these icons moved somewhere where you're going to physically see them. So if, for example, you was doing Iron Council and the boss starts to use Lightning Well, it will show that it needs to be interrupted. It's not going to show you everything, but if there was Lightning Tendrils, it will show you that Lightning Tendrils is going on and you need to run away. Or if you was doing Colligan and Shockwave's going to come in, it will show you a timer on Shockwave as well. So you always want these somewhere somewhere quite nice. But using these then in conjunction with DBM, you can go into options in DBM and then go to bar appearance and press move me. Now you can have these bars anywhere you want. So like you can see, all the information I need to know is at the lower end of the screen. So here's like the timers where it's going to be quite a while. So there might be a list of these timers, and then it moves over to the right as it's getting closer and closer to actually going off. So it grabs your attention. And because my attention is down here healing anyway, it's very easy for me to see what's going on at all times. I also move the warning down. So again, going into DBM, if we go to announcements and then put move me, you can see where the announcements are. So again, just above all my cooldowns and important information, but not covering anything. So if I was stood inside a void zone, I can still see my character. I'll very quickly be able to move out, and nothing's actually blocking sort of the vision of my character. So that's weak auras for raiding and DBM, and making sure none of it's overlapping. I hate when I see on weak auras, where you've got your DBM timers and then you've got the same things for weak auras and they're on top of each other, so you can't actually see properly what's going on at all. So you have your test bars on, and then you look at where your weak auras are going to be. There are a lot more weak auras inside this Thames pack, as I say, because not only are you going to have those warnings, you're also going to have things like HP sync. So when you're doing Colligan, it will show you the arms and the body. When you're doing Freya, it will show you the elemental adds. When you're doing Mimeron, it will show you the head, chest and bottom, so you can make sure they're all going down at the same time. And Algalon, it will show you all the stars and the percentage health that they're on. You also get improved vehicle frames. I have it at the top purely because the one thing I'm not very proud of is down the bottom, when the vehicle frame comes on using Bartender, it goes over my unit frames, which doesn't really matter because I'm not going to be healing anyone, obviously, on vehicle fights like Flame Leviathan, but it is still quite irritating. I will find a way around that soon. Now, you may have noticed this bar. It's normally over here when I'm healing because it's nice to see, but really, as a healer, I'm not going to be getting that much threat. But a nice weak aura threat assistant is really good as well. You can get ones that are a lot more complicated than this, where it actually shows you threat lead and how far behind the tank you are and stuff like that. But really, just a percentage bar when I'm ret is normally pretty much there where I've just put it now, and I can very easily see whether I need to hand a salve myself or, I don't know, stop attacking, which no one likes doing. Of course, I use weak auras for absolutely every class that I play, and even things like gold per hour, so I can see how much I'm making per session if I'm out farming, knowing when my mana potion's ready. And when I'm actually playing on my feral, I even have a melee range reminder where basically if I'm out of melee range of the mob, it will start flashing and telling me to get closer. That's really DBM and weak auras. Now this here, which shows raid cooldown, so you can see that I've got my DSAC ready, I've got my aura mastery ready. Depending on who's in the raid, it will show me the cooldowns that I select to be shown. So this is using method raid tools. So /MRT, and then you go for raid cooldowns. You can tick every single type of raid cooldown that you actually want to see, and then you can move it anywhere you want on your screen. This is probably more useful for somebody who does raid lead or is a tank that needs defensive cooldowns at times. But really, method raid tools has got some real kids in this guild, man. Method raid tools has got useful things in it for absolutely everyone, not just raid leaders. But if you're doing a pug and you want to select a map, and let's say Ulduar, and then looking at things like Yogg, for example, which is on at the moment, is a good one. So you could just add text like 1, and then you could make that bigger, just drag it out, and then move each of these around to where the portals would be, and then assign people to them. And the good thing about this is we added me there, and we knew that this is my portal number 1. What you can actually do, which is really cool, is to display it in a separate window, so you can have it open at all times. So you can now, just for quick reference, you could drag this, let's say, over here on the corner of the screen, so you can really easily see who's going where, and just gives you a nice visual aid. And obviously you can do this on loads of the bosses. Like even Thorim could be a good one, where you're actually assigning people's stacks, so where they're actually going to stack and who's going to be there. And because you can very quickly add people text-wise that are actually in the group, I can just literally add me very easily, and then add owner very easily, and know like these two are going to be stacking here. And the more people you've got in the raid, obviously you can then just add it, and again you can just press that and you can keep it open somewhere on your screen for reference, however big or small that you want it, and very quickly know where you're going to go. Again, there's so much in method raid tools that it would take an entire video on its own to go through all of this, but just have a play about. Just download it, play about, and I guarantee for your raid you will find something useful, even if it is an important weak aura that you need everybody in your raid to have, and then you can see who's got it. Sorry, method raid tools is a long one, but an amazing add-on that even I'm constantly finding new uses for. And then really, outside of details and just changing some of the options to make it transparent and, and not too in your face, the other main add-ons would be Sexy Map that I use here, which is just to make the map look cleaner, Mini Map Button Bag, which just keeps all my add-on buttons in one place, and Leatrix Plus and Leatrix Maps. So I really like Leatrix Maps because I like being able to move it around, resize it, and being able to zoom in nicely. It just all works for me well. So that's Leatrix Maps. And then Leatrix Plus has just got a lot of quality of life stuff that you might want, like automating quests, gossip, selling junk, repairing automatically, inviting from whispers. There's just tons of things in here that you might find that you like and just want to turn on or off, depending on what suits your needs. I would probably say they're the main things that make my UI clean or my experience in game a lot better. Tell me what you thought was the best one and what one you might even try out yourself. Like and subscribe. See you on the next one.